There was a huge outrage in the last days about Red Hat. Is Red Hat now closed source? Why are they doing this? And are companies bad for Linux and open source? You maybe have seen other videos or read articles about the topic that Red Hat RHEL now is closed source. They closed the source for the public. And this is against the GPL, obviously. Why are they doing this? And is this understandable or not? Is it against the GPL or not? Let's have a look what someone says who is working for Red Hat. And it's Mike McGrath here on the Red Hat blog. I spent a lot of time walking this weekend thinking about the reaction from our industry to my last blog post. And in this blog post, he discusses the news about Red Hat. Now, who is Mike McGrath? He's the Vice President of Core Platforms Engineering at Red Hat. Well, he's someone there. He's been there for 16 years, and before that he was a volunteer in the Fedora project. So let's assume that he knows what he's speaking about. He says, despite what's currently being said about Red Hat, they are going closed source, we make our hard work readily accessible to non-customers. So it's all about that. It is said that only customers can view and work on the source code. And he says, no. Red Hat uses and will always use an open source development model. We don't simply take upstream packages and rebuild them. At Red Hat, thousands of people spend the time writing code to enable new features, fixing bugs, integrating different packages, and then supporting that work for a long time. Something that our customers and partners need. Now, what he is trying to say is that Red Hat and the employees of Red Hat are working hard on the project. Yes, I believe that. We always send our code upstream. This is a very important part of what he's saying, and abide by the open source licenses our products use, which includes the GPL. So many say what they are doing is against the GPL, and he says no. He says the details, including open source licenses and rights, matter, and these are things Red Hat has helped to not only form but also preserve and evolve. He cannot understand the outrage because he says they always are in line with the GPL. I feel that much of the anger from our recent decision around the downstream sources, and he speaks of downstream sources, comes from either those who do not want to pay for the time, effort and resources going into RHEL, or those who want to repackage it for their own profit. This is the part that's interesting. There are distros that use the RHEL code, repackage it, and sell it as their own. Sell is maybe not the right word for that. Let's say they release it as their own. I speak of Alma Linux and Rocky Linux. And so what they did is they built exact clones of RHEL and made it their own. And now we have to discuss, is that what the GPL means? Yes, the GPL says that you can view the source code, you can work on the source code, and after that you can redistribute it as your own. But what does that mean? It does mean that you have to put in your own work before you redistribute it. Well, this is not what is exactly said in the GPL, but I think that's the idea behind it. Let's take a look at Debian and Ubuntu. Ubuntu is repackaging Debian. The difference is that they make their own distro. They add something to Debian. Yes, the base is Debian, but Ubuntu is different. And Linux Mint is building something new based on Ubuntu. So it's very different from Ubuntu and very different from Debian. So this is the idea behind it, that you can work on the source code. Is it a distro, or is it a desktop environment, or is it a program? That doesn't matter. If you think you can do it better, yeah, do it. That's not the problem. But you should not take a piece of software without changing anything to the code and say, okay, this is mine. You remember the GIMP problem with that developers who just changed the name of GIMP. They took the whole project, all the work the GIMP developers had put in years, and they said, okay, this is our project, and we just changed the name because we don't like the name. We have to pay people to do that work, and this is the problem. Now we are in that field. There are no volunteers here that do the work. They are paid to do the work. Red Hat is a company. It's all about profit. And you can say this is negative. You also can say this is positive, because a company is not something in the clouds. A company has employees, and these employees work and get money for the work they are doing, and this is good. The thing is, what is closed and what is open? CentOS Stream is open source, and it always will be open source. And RHEL is built upon CentOS Stream. And if Alma Linux or Rocky Linux take the source code of CentOS Stream and make it their own, with own patches, with own ideas, with own visions, they can. This is not a problem. What they should not do is copy the exact RHEL. Is RHEL closed? No, it's not. It's open for customers. The only thing is that you cannot take RHEL and redistribute it as it is. And I think this is understandable. The next question is, are companies bad for Linux? And I say no. What you see here is from the year 2019, but I think it's almost the same now. Maybe the exact numbers differ a little bit, but it's the same. So, who are the main contributors to the Linux kernel? Here you say none. These are private persons, and these are almost 12%. Yeah, that's good. None means no company involved. Okay, but 12% is not so much. Then comes Intel, 10%. Then comes Red Hat. Then comes IBM, SUSE, Linaro, Google, Samsung, AMD, Texas Instruments, Oracle. So you see, the problem is, if you say, as I have seen on a video, that companies are bad for Linux and open source, you have to think, if Intel, Red Hat, IBM, and all the others here would stop their engagement in contributing to the kernel, who would do the work? Who? Well, I don't know. You may say, okay, they are not doing it for the community. Yes, that's right. They do it for their own profit. They're companies. They are not doing it because they want me or you to have a better life or something like that. That's not the case. But in the end, they're doing it. And we all profit from that because the Linux kernel is the heart of all. You may argue others do something for applications, for desktop environments, and for Bash and something like that. This is all true. But what would you do with a desktop environment without the kernel? The kernel is the heart. And where is Debian, by the way? Where is Arch Linux? Some people say, let's move to the community-driven distros. Because Red Hat is evil, and Canonical is evil, and SUSE is evil. And I read some comments about Pop! OS is evil because Pop! OS is also provided by a company. It's a very small company, but nevertheless they are a company. This is nonsense in my opinion. They are not bad because they are companies. What is bad is about human nature. It's not about companies. It's about greed. It has nothing to do how big a company is. A one-man show can also be greedy and evil. Don't let me be misunderstood. I'm a passionate Debian user, but I know that Debian is not contributing to the Linux kernel. The Arch does not contribute anything. Linux Mint does not contribute anything to the kernel. Only the big companies do. And it doesn't matter if you like that or if I like that. This doesn't matter because this is a fact. Like it or not, it doesn't matter if we like it. Here, let's take a look at the Linux Foundation. Not 1%. The Linux Foundation contributes to the Linux kernel. Let's have a look what SUSE says. Most of the contributors to the Linux kernel are not unpaid volunteers, but come from some of the largest software and hardware vendors in the world and are paid by the employees to contribute. So this is fact. The contributors are paid for the work. And who can pay for the work? Companies. Not you, not me. Companies can pay for the work they are doing. And the work is necessary. This is the oil that keeps the machine going. And I agree with you. There are many things that are very bad. And there are bad decisions. And it's not all sunshine here. But we have to admit that we need the companies. And we need Red Hat. And we need SUSE. And we also need Intel and IBM, not only for the software, because what would we do with the software without a computer? So we are talking about the manufacturers of the hardware, AMD, for example. What would we do without AMD? We would not see anything. I'm very curious what you are saying about this topic. I know it's explosive, and I know that some of you will not agree with me, and that's fine. That's fine. Maybe I'm totally wrong with what I'm saying. Tell it in a comment in the video. Well, thank you and bye-bye.